Morning, everybody. How you doing? Aren't we excited Saturday talking about ICD-10? Well, without it, guess what? You eat out of a dumpster, okay? So first of all, it's my pleasure to be here, and I thought, cool, I'm going to go to North Carolina, spring break, March Madness. It's warmer in Decatur, Illinois today. What's going on here, okay? So, but it is my pleasure. We have a little bit of an echo, but it's my pleasure to be here again with you today. And ICD-10 is one of those subjects where do you start? Well, I'm going to try to break it down for you. Is ICD-10, let's get the elephant out of the room right now, okay? Is ICD-10 going to be delayed again? And the answer is no. I don't think so. No. On February 11th, there was a testimony before Congress, and the American Medical Association and AHIMA, American Health Information Management Association, last year they went before Congress and they said 60% of MDs are ready for ICD-10, 30% of chiropractors are ready, please delay it. And they delayed it for a year. This year they went before Congress and they said, we're all ready. Are you all ready? They obviously didn't speak to any of you. Okay, so I'm going to get you ready here, okay? Recently in one of the national publications for chiropractic, it said to stockpile 6 months worth of cash because your reimbursements will be delayed. Do you think insurance companies are ready? I will tell you they are absolutely 100% ready, okay? And so the only reason why you're going to have to stockpile 6 months worth of cash and have gold bars underneath your mattress and sleep in a lumpy bed is because you are not ready and you procrastinate. So I'm going to try to bring you up to par today at number one. Number two, we're going to try to give you the basics. When you break it down, it really, really isn't that hard, okay? And so, at least I hope it's not that hard. Are you going to have to convert? You are, all right? How many of you have been in practice for, let's say, longer than 30 years? Yeah, see, you went through ICD-8, the conversion till 9. And when I talked to these doctors, they said, I don't remember, there was some guy with black sunglasses told me to look into a pen, and I saw a flash, and that's the last thing I remember. And so after that, they survived, and you will survive ICD-10 as well, okay? Now, there are some nuances, and just to let you know, there are some changes that are going to be coming about in a few weeks here. When they come about, I will let HNS know, but another thing you can do is go on facebook.com/askmario. Now, there's a lot of doctors, they say to me, I don't do Facebook. Either do I. Okay, what type of rye bread, what type of bread do you like? And, you get 200 responses. And you say, I'm constipated today, and you get 52 likes, right? See, we're going to keep you awake. Okay, but the key is that this here is not my normal Facebook. Make sure you go to facebook.com/askmario and stay tuned to the HNS website as well, and we will keep you informed as to some nuances. There's very, very few nuances. There's very few things that we don't know. Everything is set up in place because of the year delay. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to explain to you how ICD-10 works. I'm going to be giving you some updates. This is not a Medicare class, but you know what? As CMS goes, so does the rest of the United States here. So I will talk to you a little bit about that, but we'll be giving you a better understanding of ICD-10 as well, and talk to you mostly, I think, the most important thing that you want to be here today versus people who are watching this on video. Because they're watching it on video, you can get started Monday, and the ones that are watching it on video, for them it's September 30th, and they go to ICD-10 tomorrow. So you'll be already ready. Hey, that was a joke. Okay, you're supposed to laugh at them. Okay, all right, okay. So anyway, we're going to talk about the differences, and there are vast differences. We are going from a relatively little group of codes, 17,000 to 70,000 codes, all right? Which might sound like, oh gosh, time to give up practice and work at Walmart. But the key is, you don't use 17,000 codes now, all right? I went to a doctor's office just 2 days ago. He uses 2 codes. Now, that's the extreme of ignorance, okay, versus 17,000 codes or 70,000 codes, you won't need it. But we'll talk about the impact of ICD-10, which will be huge, and it really will. And I will give you when it's my opinion. I'll let you know when it's fact. But the key is that if you don't get on the ball now, and kudos to H&S for having me here, because this is the time to change. We'll talk about definitions a little bit, and I'll talk about some of the guidelines, which sounds really boring to me, but the key is you're already doing these guidelines. So when you see the ICD-10 guidelines, many of them you're going to say, well, no kidding. All right? Let's give an example. In Medicare, what code always goes first? The subluxation code. See, you already know one of the rules of ICD-10. That's called the sequencing of codes. So that's not a problem there. The structure of the codes, it changes. It's different. 847.0, if you know that code, that's a cervical sprain. S13.4XXA is one of the cervical sprain codes. So it's completely, we need Rosetta Stone ICD-10. All right? Which is for sale out in the hallway. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. So documentation is going to be a big deal, and that's why I'm going to start off with the claim form. We'll go through some of the documentation, and it's going to be much more detailed. But I will tell you that, number one, your documentation will improve, which is really what we all want and strive for in our practice. And I practice full-time as well. Okay, I always have a little asterisk there. I practice 3 days a week. I try sometimes 4, but I'm on the road. And actually, I'm on the road 38 weekends this year, but we get to see the world. Okay, so we'll talk about your transitions, some of the rules, and of course, I'll ask you some questions, and you'll see ICD-10 just isn't that hard. Okay, so let's go back to the Bible here. Okay, and this is the big book, and I call this the bad boy, okay? Now, this book here, and I will tell you, if you want to buy this book, go for it if you got an extra $110 laying around, but you don't need this book. This book is a huge book, all right? Now, this is what I did. I went one night, I was really bored because I have a problem as I get older sleeping through the night. And I took this book and I put it into a washing machine, and I set it on really hot temperature and washed it in hot water. And then I took the book out afterward and I put it in a dryer and I dried it, okay? And real hot. And then the Code book came out, all right? And so I said, wow, let's have a little experiment because I'm ADD and I was bored. And so I took the Code book and I washed it, and then I put it in a hot dryer, and that's when I came out with the ICD coding of the top 100 conditions, okay? Now, you don't have to buy that book, but thank you to H&S for helping me out on that, because H&S, what they said to me is, Mario, we have done an analysis of the top 100 codes, ICD-9, and we want you to convert it over. Well, what I did was I went one step further. I have all the Medicare codes. Now, just to let you know, I happen to be on the Carrier Advisory Committee for Medicare, okay? I frequently will look them in the eye. I mean, we were at Northwestern Hospital just a couple weeks ago, and I'll look them in the eye, and I'm thinking, are you nuts? Okay, but I can't say that. So I'll say, well, I just would like to bring up this one point, okay? And so they are releasing all of the ICD-10 codes, and they already announced the date. They are going to release all the ICD-10 codes for chiropractic that are all approved on October 1st, 2015. But they gave it to the CAC members, Carrier Advisory Committee members, and that's now in my book as well, because they didn't say not to publish it, so I want to help out you guys, okay? All the rules are in there in nice, easy. So if you wish to purchase the book here, we actually have some, and Ginny, raise your hand back there. So that's Ginny over there in the middle there. So we have webinar specials with no tax, no shipping, and so we'll help you out with that, okay? All right. So October 1st, 2015, right now as it sits, September 30th, which happens to be a Wednesday, you will be doing ICD-9. Any services performed on September 30th, you will code using ICD-9. Thursday, close down, okay, because that's October 1st. No, I'm just kidding, okay? Now, if you wish to call me, you're welcome to call me on October 1st or Friday, October 2nd. My wife has already told me we will be out of the country and will not be available by internet or by telephone, okay? Because I know everything is going to be going nuts. I'm just kidding with you, but no, we'll be gone somewhere. Okay, anyway, probably in the mountains of North Carolina right next to you and you won't even know it, okay? But Medicare said we're talking, quote, talking about a transition of 9 to 10, but we don't think it's going to happen. Okay, so the way you need to think about it, and for my practice, you definitely want to think that literally September 30th, you're going to be using ICD-9, and then October 1st, you're going to convert over to ICD-10. You know, this really isn't, it isn't a, you know, it seems like it's quick, but they've already delayed it for 2 years. But for those of us, you know, that have been around since, you know, at least the 70s, remember in the 70s we were going metric? Okay, we still haven't gone metric, okay? All right? I'm going to run a 5K, you know, well, 5K sounds like a lot, and then, you know, it's, you know, 3.1 miles, okay? I personally run 5 Ts, 5 telephone poles. I find it to be more enjoyable, all right? All right, so going back, and you know what, if you want to blame it on President Obama, don't do it. And if you want to blame it on President Bush, don't do it. This goes back to 1996, which is back in the Clinton era, and so was Clinton and Monica, okay? So back then, I was in Arkansas. I went to the museum. No blue dresses. Okay, anyway, all right. Electronic claim submission. Electronic claim submission was where this changed all the way. All of your computers should be speaking in ASCII language 5010, okay? Look at it like we all have to speak English, whatever, okay? Then we went to provider identifiers. Now, the provider identifier is the NPI number. You have an NPI number type 1, which is for you, and no matter where you move, then you keep that NPI type 1. NPI type 2 is for your corporation. By the way, with Medicare, many doctors will say to me, I haven't been paid in 2 years from Medicare, okay? And this is not a Medicare class. And so one doctor, and I will never say it again, I said, why don't you fax me a claim form so I can see what's wrong? He faxed me all 2 years worth of claim forms. So being a consultant and helping this guy out for no charge, I did what any other consultant would do. I took all the papers and gave it to my wife, and I said, figure it out, okay? So, you know, number one, he didn't have an NPI number for his corporation. And the government is always slow, except when it comes to collecting money, if you notice, right? And so the IRS actually told CMS that this doctor had a corporation now, and he never got an NPI type 2. So make sure both you and your corporation are approved. Then we went to privacy laws. Now, the privacy laws changed, and this is serious here. They changed huge September 23rd, 2013. If you have not updated your HIPAA privacy manual and your privacy policy since 2013, you are deficient. You are deficient. And I did write a book on HIPAA for the chiropractic office as well. And, you know, I'm not just trying to sell you a book there. It's a huge thing. And so now your business associate agreement, if you have an independent contractor that you're working with for, then you have to make sure that all your contracts are in line with HIPAA. Okay? Even who you talk to as far as your patients are concerned. Just recently, the Office of Civil Rights released, just recently, about a month ago, released a self-audit. The self-audit alone is 67 pages long. Okay, so keep that in mind with, boy, it got quiet in here all of a sudden, huh? Keep that in mind with your privacy policies here. And then, of course, the last thing here is code sets. The code sets are the CPT 10 codes. Okay? Are we just going to jump from 9 to 11? Dream on. It's not going to happen. You can't go from not knowing a language to working at the United Nations. You can't do that. It's huge. The rest of the world, literally the world, is going to ICD 11 soon, but we're still on 10, and we're going to be on 10 for a while. Okay? All right. We came out with a new claim form, and the major reason for the new claim form, by the way, was because of ICD 10. All right? That claim form that came about on April Fool's Day, kind of ironic there, looks like this. Now, by the way, a claim form normally is in red, right? Do you know why it's in red? Because they recycle chiropractic blood. They've been doing that for years. You never ever smell that claim form, have you? You should. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, all right. So the claim form, up in the corner, there's a QR code. Pretty good marketing scheme, actually, because then you get your smartphone, you scan that QR code, and it takes you to the nucc.org website, which is the company that made it, okay? You know, hey, if you're making something, might as well push it. It should be H&S website, right? Okay? But on that claim form here, hopefully, since you've already been using that claim form, your software is updated, okay? And so we have different areas that are blank in the claim form, and I don't want to discuss those because they're worthless right now. They're not being used for anything, but those blank areas are for future expansion. They're not changing this claim form for a while here, okay? All right. Now, you'll notice that wherever it says year, YY, they really want a 4-digit code, so it'd be like 2015, not 15 there, okay? All right. Now, the major things that I want to talk to you about here, okay, is coming up right there. Okay, number one, box 10. Okay, box 10, if the patient has an auto accident and you mark yes on there, now you have to give the place where the auto accident occurred. Okay, that would be the state. And so if it's North Carolina, you'll put NC there. Okay, all right. Now, box 12. And I just want to give you some of the ramifications of this here. Box 12 on the claim form, it says, I authorize the release of any medical or other information necessary to process this claim. I also request payment of government benefits, that's Medicare, Medicaid, or any other federally funded program, either to the patient for non-PAR doctors or to the party who accepts assignment below, that's for PAR doctors. Now, why am I showing you that? Because that is HIPAA. It's built into the claim form now. Now you don't have to get special permission from the patient, and so the patient will sign a blank claim form, put the date on there, keep that on file. Okay? Now some of you may also have what we call a signature on file, and that would be if your privacy policy is such that they give you permission, that SOF, signature on file, that's what that counts for. Okay? All right. Now, a couple important things here. Box 14. Box 14, you'll put down the date of the condition, that the onset of pain. That's when the symptoms first manifested themselves, except in Medicare. So always, we have little calendars on the countertops in each of our treatment rooms. And the patient says, boy, I had a flare-up with my back a couple weeks ago. And I'll say, what did you do? How bad is the pain? Everything else. And then I'll say, when did it occur? And they'll go, well, it was a couple weeks ago. And I say, I know, what day was it on? And they'll say, on a Thursday. All right, so we'll look it up, and that's the date there. Because one office was having problems, and they called me up, and I looked, and it said up there, gradual in that term. Because the doctor wrote gradual onset, and so they just put onset as gradual. They want a date there. So doctors, okay, try to nail down a date. But In box 14, it's the date of onset of their symptoms or an exacerbation for regular insurance, but not for Medicare. For Medicare, it's the date the patient first began treating for the condition. So you'll see next to this date of onset, there's a thing that says QUAL, that's qualifier. For regular insurance, and I'm not sure if H&S has any other factors that they work with, for regular insurance, you're going to put in the qualifier 431. However, for Medicare, it's not the date of the onset of their symptoms. That goes in their notes. But for Medicare, since it's the date that they first came to your office for the condition, there is going to be no qualifier. So for Medicare, no qualifier at all. So keep that in mind. For regular insurance, qualifier 431. For Medicare, no qualifier. Make sure that you're looking at box 14. You know, Medicare is looking for maintenance care, as actually most insurances are. And one doctor, again, you know, a lot of doctors call me up, and I said, let me see a claim form. On his box 14, he had 1976 as the date of onset. And he's arguing with them it's not maintenance care. Yeah. All right, okay. Let's go on. I just want to talk about this. Okay, so now we have box 21, our favorite. Box 21. Okay. Now, for you coding geniuses out there, you can go nuts. We've got 12 lines for box 21, okay? And box 21, there's no dots there. Even though we'll say 724.3 in ICD-9, there's no point in there, okay? So there's no point to this box. No, there is. Okay. So the key is there's no point, and you'll see where it says ICD-IND, which is the ICD indicator. And so under ICD-9, you put a 9. When we go to ICD-10, what are you going to put in there? No, that would be logical. No, you don't put a 10. You put a 0. Okay? Because I know, gotcha. Ugh, reel them in. Okay, all right. So you put a 0 in there for ICD-10. Now, those that don't, guess what? They are going to be sleeping on lumpy mattresses, not you. You'll say, ha, I took Mario's class. Okay? So put a 0 in there for ICD-10, which will be as of what date? October 1, 2015, okay? All right, so these are actual codes, by the way, and we'll be discussing lots of codes today. There's a plethora of codes. Remember that top 100 codes that I said we converted over? Okay, those worked out to 327. An example, sciatica now becomes 6 different codes. Spondylolysis, 1 code now becomes 24 different codes. Highly specialized, all right? And so the specificity of your documentation and therefore of the codes is going to be important as well, okay? All right, so it's a 0 for ICD indicator. That's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about there. Okay. By the way, the diagnosis pointer down here on 24E, you know, now that you're doing 12 different codes, it's kind of hard to put A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All they will allow is 3 characters in there. 3 characters means characters, not letters. And so the 3 characters, if you did all 12 lines, it would be A-L. A-L. You can put A, B, C, whatever it might be. Medicare only requires an A in there. That's all they require, is an A. Okay? All right. All right, that's it. All right. By the way, box 31, that's a juicy one here. Box 31, it says, I certify statements on the reverse apply to this bill and are made a part thereof. Box 31 is for the False Claims Act. Now, under the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010, if your coding is improper, number 1. Number 2, if it is not representing actual treatment that you rendered. And number 3, if it's not medically necessary, i.e. maintenance care, now under HIPAA, it made it a criminal offense to file those claims. And all you got to do is just do a little website search or go to the OIG website and, you know, oh, look, my son is on the OIG most wanted list. And I don't know, you know, common sense is so uncommon, it's often mistaken for sheer genius. That's my favorite quote, okay? They always catch these fugitives at the Miami International Airport. If I was leaving the country, I think I'd go out of the Nebraska International Airport. Wouldn't you? Okay, but nonetheless, it's called the False Claim Act, which basically says that if you file erroneous claims, that you may be prosecuted, and in the middle, under penalty of perjury, I declare that I have read the foregoing, that the facts alleged are true to the best of my knowledge and belief. Treatment and services rendered were reasonable and necessary with respect to bodily injury sustained. That is legal ease for not maintenance care. It's not just against chiropractors, okay? But we are low-hanging fruit. The key is that today I am teaching you, and as H&S has been teaching you, that you have to have proper documentation. You have to be aware of the policies, and you have to be aware of the changes. They don't send you a letter anymore to say, by the way, what you're doing is wrong and will probably send you to Bubba, right, in jail. And so therefore, that's why, and I've looked at H&S's website, that's why I am always on the weekends teaching somewhere, because we all are trying to get the word out. Yes, we are in a regulatory type of fashion here. You got to know the rules of the game. Now, is it hard to practice? Yes, it's harder to practice. But now we have, you know, computerized equipment, EHR, electronic health records. Time to sell that Commodore 64 and move up. You know, the doctor, the office I went to on Thursday, day before yesterday, okay, the doctor has EHR, but his billing person is still using ledger cards. He inherited her when he bought the practice. She's been at that practice 49 years. Now, to walk in and say, you know, Bonnie, you're now going to be using, you know, electronic billing, she'd probably have a stroke right there, you know, okay? But the key is you just got to train staff, and again, kudos to the staff that are here. You'll be that much more ahead when these transitions come about, okay? These are resources there. Don't worry about those, okay? Resources, I'll give you the resources. One of them is obviously H&S's website, number one. Number two, you can go to facebook.com/AskMario. But cms.hhs.gov or cms.gov is another way to get to it, /ICD-10. cms.gov/ICD-10. All right? Oh, just more money. No, it's free. Your tax dollar is paid for it, okay? Number one. Number two is as things alter, they will give you all of the changes so you'll see it firsthand, okay? All right.